Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
And it's time to catch up with the Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Matthew Dickerson. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Ian. Good to be chatting to you again, as always.
You're coming to us from chilly Canberra again. You're still there for a range of conferences.
2 conferences this week, actually, and you're right, chilly, 4 degrees at the moment, so it's been very chilly. It's been getting to a top of about 8 or 9 degrees, so I can't get home soon enough, Ian. But we had the National General Assembly earlier this week, so that went on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then today it's the Australian Council of Local Government Conference, so that's one that's been reintroduced by the new government. Earlier in the week, the National General Assembly is run by the Australian Local Government Association, 537 councils across the nation. And what's fascinating about that is that you get to sit down with people not just in the state but across the nation, so you really get a chance to compare notes about things that are happening in different areas across the entire nation, and some great presentations. Probably my favourite one was one by Saul Griffith, who talks about electrifying Australia. He's talked about electrifying America before, but just the processes we can put in place to have this whole climate change transition that we've got to have. So that was fascinating, but lots of other great speakers as well.
So obviously lots of mayors right throughout Australia here at this conference.
Absolutely right. So mainly mayors and general managers are at this conference. Again, as I said, 537 councils across the nation, and most of those are represented here. But again, you sit down at lunch or you sit down at morning tea and talk to people. You don't know where they're from. You get to hear different stories from them, but also just that shared experience across all those different councils, and it's quite fascinating.
Certainly sounds like it. Will you be rubbing shoulders with the Prime Minister at some stage?
Well, he was at a function last night, but I got to sit down and talk to people like Chris Bowen. He will be very important for our region, and so I had a great chat to him about the energy transition. Obviously, from a federal government perspective, that's very important to change that whole energy transition, but I want to talk to him about what we can gain for our community out of the energy transition with the renewable energy zone they're in. So I had a good chat to him. Catherine King was there, chatted to her as well. Tony Burke, so it was great to chat to some of those ministers there. And Anthony Albanese will be turning up very shortly. 8 o'clock it starts this morning, so he'll be turning up shortly to start the conference off this morning.
Now, here in Dubbo, too, something very interesting here. There's a polystyrene recycling trial started.
Yeah, so this is really one thing that we want to focus on with our tip, trying to get what we call diversion of things away from just being dumped into landfill. At the moment, we get about 49% of the things that are taken to the tip that go out to other areas. So I'm talking about maybe tyres or batteries or solar panels taken out into other streams rather than just dumped in landfill. The target that the EPA has set for us is 80%. So we've got to try and work about ways to keep more of those things that are taken to the tip out of landfill, and polystyrene is one of those. So we've started that process now, and we'll be looking at other ways to divert those waste streams away from landfill.
My understanding is that customers can take their polystyrene waste to the foam muncher bin at the Willandra Waste and Recycling Centre. The polystyrene must be clean and free of any tape or other materials, but that's underway now. I believe that's running through until Friday the 11th of August.
Yeah, so again, we're trying these different processes to try and work out ways we can take more waste out of landfill. So you're spot on if you've got polystyrene at the moment, because polystyrene obviously stays in the environment for a long time. So if you've got that polystyrene waste in your place at the moment, take it out to the tip, and as you said there, the date till the 11th of August.
Well, it's made from oil, which is a non-renewable resource, and I was reading that despite 98% of the plastic packaging being air, polystyrene actually takes up large amounts of space in landfills, and it can be easily blown away and enter and harm the natural environment. So I think that trial into the munching bin sounds certainly like a step in the right direction, doesn't it?
Exactly right. We've got to keep working out ways to keep doing that, and that's the real challenge for us as a council. We've got a lot of waste that goes into landfill at the moment. We've got to work out ways to keep it out of landfill and see how we can use it in some useful way.
Matthew, there's some works going on in the one of the sewer assets in Wellington there in Maxwell Street.
So that street will be closed for a period of time because we've got to do some more works there. And again, this is all part of that ongoing process that council has, and that you're constantly working out ways to improve all of the infrastructure we've got across the entire area. So that's a small inconvenience for people along Maxwell Street there in Wellington, but again, better long-term outcomes.
Now, Matthew, after 8 o'clock, I'll be chatting with Jackie Fitzgerald. She's the Executive Director of Boxar, which is the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research, particularly about motor vehicle theft in New South Wales and the fact that it seems to be on the rise in regional areas. Now, you've done some number crunching yourself of crime statistics, haven't you?
Well, obviously earlier on the year, and we've talked about it before, there were a lot of people calling for very drastic measures in Dubbo because they were saying that crime was going through the roof in Dubbo, and so people wanted to take some action. There were people calling for a curfew, there were people calling for a crime summit, and what I said was that the plural of anecdote is anecdotes. The plural of anecdote is not data. And I said we need to look at the data. At that stage, we only had data up until the end of December, and that data showed that it wasn't doom and gloom in Dubbo. There was crime. There's no doubt about it. There's crime, but we live in a modern society. There is going to be crime, unfortunately. What we need to do is leave the job of solving that crime, reducing crime, to the police, who are charged with that responsibility, to the court system. Council's not involved with that, but it didn't seem all doom and gloom from where I was sitting looking at the data. Now, the latest data has come in, you're spot on there. The latest data has come in for the last quarter, so until the end of March. And when I looked at that, there is a variety of up and down crime in the various stats. But take motor vehicle theft, for example. In the first quarter this year, then that's gone up by 0.3%. So it's increased, but gee, not that much. But then you look at some other crime stats, for example, sexual assault. That's gone down by 16%. You look at sexual touching, that's gone down by 9%. You look at domestic violence, gone down by 3%. So it depends what data you want to look at and what data you want to pick to see what's happened with that crime. Now, again, I'm not saying that everything's perfect, we live in a rosy world. There is crime there, and I fully support the police in the job they're doing and our court system in making sure that they address that crime. What we're doing and what we resolved at the last council meeting is to basically work with a community safety plan, work with agencies, get agencies talking together, making sure that all those agencies that are charged with the responsibility are doing their job. Again, it's not our job to solve, but it's our job to keep working on our community.
I noticed in your stats there, the New South Wales rolling 12 months change from December 22 through until April, March of this year. 12 months change, from January 2022 to December 2022, that things like motor vehicle theft in the state went up 4.6%, but you say for Dubbo 0.3%.
Correct, and that's the really important thing to look at here. If we look at all our offences, all the different categories, and look at those for Dubbo compared to the state, across the state, those combined categories have gone up by 2.5%. In Dubbo, they've gone up by 1.9%. So there has been an increase. It hasn't been a huge increase, and some of that increase has been much greater across the state. And I think exactly what Jackie will presumably say, and I haven't heard your interview with her yet, obviously, but what she'll presumably say is that this is an increase across the state, an upward trend across the state, and some of that is as we come out of COVID, as people become the ability to move around a lot more. And we're talking about this data I'm looking at is the 12 months to the end of March this year compared to the 12 months to the end of December last year. So it's really looking at that increase in the last 3 months. We're obviously getting more active in the community as we get around.
It does appear from what I've read in the preliminaries for that interview, which will come up after 8 o'clock, that a lot of crime is simply coming back from COVID lows because people were, they were less mobile and there was less opportunistic crimes. But we'll find out more after 8 o'clock this morning there from Jackie Fitzgerald. Matthew Dickerson, Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, as always, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate your time, Ian.
We'll catch up again next week, too.
Merrill Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.